Well, good afternoon, Jacque.
Good afternoon. How
Good
are you?
to, I'm awesome. So good to see you. Thank you so much for being here on Michelle's Conversations That Matter today.
Well, thanks for having me back after the first go round. I couldn't say no. I mean, we had so much fun on the last one and getting some good
Yeah.
information out. So
Yeah, I love the work you're doing. I was introduced to you through a mutual friend. And I can't remember which one, but I've been following you. You're in upstate New York, so you're not too far from me. I'm in Jersey. So the work you're doing up there is pretty incredible. Um, I am grateful that you said yes to being on my little show, Michelle's Conversations That Matter today. Really out to cause conversations that weren't going to happen, to either educate, inspire, or help people in the world with my series. My company is Trifecta Mental Health, and what I'm out to do with my company is cause change in the environment of workplaces so people don't feel ashamed about living with an invisible disability. You are a very active person in suicide prevention, and you have an amazing story, and I'm so grateful you're here. Could you take a moment to introduce yourself?
sure. Well, you did a good job. I don't know if I can better that. I mean, you did pretty well with that. But yes, as you alluded to, yes, my name is Jacque Ecuyer. I am from upstate New York. I want to say that I have survived the mental health minefield to come out on the other end. Sort of my rising from the ashes story to create my own nonprofit organization, which has many branches to help combat mental health on multiple levels in the community up here.
Amazing. It's amazing because through your journey, you've come out the other side and you want to give back and help people. I think that's the most inspiring thing, right? We can navigate something and just carry on, or we can turn around and help someone below us or next to us who might need a hand. Why don't you educate us, Jacque, on the statistics? You gave me a number before, and it just literally gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, I think the only statistic anyone should need when it comes to men's mental health and how many men that we lose each year is a proven statistic is 510,000 men a year globally commit suicide. That's 500,000 just men. We're not even including women or children, just men. 510,000 a year globally commit suicide.
Oh, gosh. And, we talked a little bit before we went on the air about the stigma and the shame and the machismo environment in our society that really does not help create a safe space for men. So, why was it so important for you? Well, why don't you tell us your story about, what happened to you and what made you sort of reach out and get help? Because men don't.
Well, my story is long. I mean, obviously, I'm 49 years old, so it did start. But I'll give you the abbreviated version without missing the important things, I guess. So basically, my journey through the mental health minefield started being as I was bullied as a kid, grade school. I want to say third and fourth or fourth and fifth grade by two separate individuals. And, I mean bullied. I mean, yes, it was name calling, but it was also physical abuse, stuffed in trash cans, spit on, chased home. So psychological, mental, and physical bullying for 2 years. I mean, I literally would stay in school and find a teacher or another kid to talk to, and I could see my aggressor or attacker outside, and I would wait till they left, even if it had to be 2 hours, till I could go home safely. And I never understood why, because I was good in sports. I was a straight A student. I was in church. My mother was Italian, so we went to church. So from that point, we went into middle school, high school years where I started getting into alcohol use, and I was going through a liter and a half of Southern Comfort a day, 7 days a week. So a very heavy drinking habit. And let's see, high school year, I'm trying to think. All right, so about high school year, just after high school, I lost my mother. She was 47 years old, died of breast cancer. So my mom was sort of my best friend. And mentally, that basically, it flipped a switch almost on me. I want to say that it was almost a mild form of PTSD. And it started really steamrolling my depression, rage issues, severe depression, chronic depression. And I skipped over marijuana and went to cocaine. So I was actually addicted to cocaine. I'm now 25 years clean from drugs.
Awesome.
And obviously moving even further with the depression after the addiction were my multiple suicide attempts. So a couple times over, I don't know, 6 or 7 year span, which my now wife stopped both attempts to get me where I am today.
Wow. I guess, the thing people need to recognize is that you were looking for vices, right? You were looking for vices to numb what you were feeling. And I think that's
Yeah.
important, because that if we love our men and our men are not communicating and they're leaning toward those types of vices, they're probably hurting. Would you agree?
Yes, I think you always try to find something to take you away from the bad spot or the bad place that you're in. And I think that resonates with anyone that deals with, not only just depression, bipolar, manic depression, anxiety, addiction, any of those things. I think that something to soothe the pain, something to just take you away. The old, what's the old soap commercial? Calgon, take me away.
Yeah.
Just in a worse, hey, what will make this pain go? What, like you said, what will numb me? And I think, us as men, because we don't feel we have any outlets, this is where you start turning to alcohol and drug use and whatever else we get into. We hold so much inside because we don't feel that we can exude that to anybody, that we start developing rage issues. This is where you comes into your domestic violence, and this comes into child abuse, unfortunately. I mean, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but this is, like you said, if we keep all this bottled inside, that's the end result. Set aside suicide. It's what leads up to that.
Right. So why do you think we have this stigma? Why do you think there's the stigma? I think, you and I have chatted about this cultural thing and this, men can't be vulnerable.
I honestly don't know where that came from. I mean, to hear the old adage of the alpha male complex, where I guess you're supposed to be a 300-pound bearded Viking with tattoos and, hey, nothing, you're the big dog on the porch. Nothing harms me. I'm not afraid of anything. Well, I don't really agree with that because I think that us all as human beings, male and female, we both have masculine and feminine energies. I believe that.
Yeah.
So if I say that to a man, they say, well, what do you mean? What do you mean feminine? Are you calling me a girl? No, you're not listening. I'm saying you have feminine energies, which means it's the nurturing side. It's the deeper thinking side. It's thinking things through. It's being okay to share your feelings. We don't ever accept that because we are taught from a young age, most of us, that you have to be tough. You can't cry in front of anybody. You can't hug another man. You can't share things with other men. That's not allowed. I don't know who the hell ever came up with that, but it's a ridiculous. It was a ridiculous concept.
Yeah, and I think as a woman, I think I think women want their partner to share with them, and I think there is nothing sexier than a man who's comfortable being vulnerable and trusts you to let you in when they're struggling. And I think men need to realize that that's actually a sign of strength, not necessarily a sign of weakness.
No, I agree. I just said I was on another podcast, a couple raw and unscripted, a gentleman out of South California or California out there, and we brought this up, and I actually, he had a female audience, and I said that to the women in the audience. I said, write down what you think one of the best 3 attributes that a man has that you seek in a mate or a man or a partner. And most men are going to think, well, I need to be in the gym. I need to have muscles or tattoos and the bad. No, you know what? 90% of those women was either sense of humor or able to show their feelings, including up to and including vulnerability. And that's what I said to Christopher, the host of the show. I said, women find that attractive because, like you said, it lets you into our world. So the more that we, keep everything in and reserve, it's almost like you have to try to figure out what's going on in our world. And that puts, tension on the relationship. So if we were just to come home, like I do with my wife, so every day I come home, this is God honest truth, she asked me how my day was. Now she knows, obviously, the same job every day, but every day I come home, hey, how was your day at work? She always asks me every day. So it could be good, could be bad, could be, hey, it's business as usual. And I ask her the same thing. And if we need to expand on that, she'll ask me, do you want me to listen? Do you want me to offer advice? Or do you want to just talk and revisit this later? So there's a lot of, and this is the thing. I can, like with my wife, and I'm sure I can see with you, even talking to you now, women, their wheels are always spinning. So as I'm talking to you, everything, you're going through everything in your mind. My wife does the same thing. So us as men, we're snap decision makers. So prime example, if we're out at a bar or restaurant, okay, someone comes up, either says something to your wife or your friends, first instinct is I'm going to punch this dude in the mouth. I mean, any guy out there is going to tell you, first thing is, oh, I have to impose my will. That's what I'm going to do. Now, women, on the other hand, are going through their head. Okay, I can embarrass this guy. I can leave it alone. You're thinking everything through, all the ramifications, the outcomes, the possibility. We don't think of anything. We're not thinking, bang, oh, now I got to go to jail and I'm going to get arrested. We didn't think of that beforehand. Snap decision making. We need to slow down and take time to assess everything, whatever it may be in life.
Tell us about the fact that you founded the Conscious Men's Brotherhood community for men, and sort of, I'm guessing it was born out of your experience, but like, why did you create that, and what have you witnessed with your group?
Well, the CMB abbreviated version is actually born out of Australia, and I happened to reach out to the two founders. We're friends on Facebook. We've been on Zooms and podcasts together, and I saw what they were doing. And basically what they do out there is they have a little bit better weather than we have in Jersey and New York, but they'll get up and they'll do a day hike. They get up on top of the mountain, and one at a time, each gentleman goes up, either takes his shirt off, takes the backpack, and does a primal scream. What it is, it's letting everything out. It's being able to be one with nature and beat your chest or cry or scream out and just do it and just enjoy it right there and let everything that you're holding back out. And these guys hugged at the end of it. So I said, wow, this is a great idea. I got on with one of the gentlemen and I said, hey, I'd love to start a group back here in the United States. We definitely could use that here in the United States. Set aside New York, New Jersey, anywhere in the United States. I said, would you give me your blessing? So we went over everything. They loved my concept. They said, we would love to give you our blessing. So they did. So we started it out. And first meeting that I had, I wasn't sure what the outcome was going to be. So I figured I would have to go into this meeting and say, hi, I'm Jacque. I did this meeting. And then, like crickets. So we had 8 or 10 different gentlemen show up, everywhere from 21 to over 60. So wide range. Okay, yeah. Wide range. And not to be, but I think I had a recovering addict. I had a gentleman in sobriety for, I think, 30 years. Had a biker, big, heavily tattooed, big, burly biker guy. Had a black man. I had a very diverse group. Yeah. So first two gentlemen come into the meeting, and the one reaches over to the other one. I just sat down. He reaches over and says, hi, I'm so-and-so. Nice to meet you. I'm a recovering heroin addict. The other guy said, hey, I'm in sobriety. They started this whole thing without me. So as the gentlemen were coming in, they just started and I just sat there and I was in awe that this was this easy to get guys. But they just started, bam, bam. So now we're going around the table, and they all had different issues, family issues, marital issues. They started sharing, and a couple of them broke down in the meeting, and they did it okay. It wasn't like, oh my, let me walk away. They just let the tears go, and we got it. Hey, we're here for you. We understand. Got through the meeting. At the end, we all hugged one another. We all gave each other hugs, and it wasn't weird. There wasn't anyone that said, no, I can't do that. So for the first meeting with 8 or 10 different guys, it turned out to be amazing. So as we progressed, the group ended up having 90 members on social media. So our group expanded to 90 members. Wow. And then COVID hit. So then all of a sudden, you couldn't meet. So we're getting back to it. But the importance of it was two things. As you come into the meeting, everyone starts, and I explain this to everybody. We all start on a level playing field. Even though I form the meeting or it doesn't matter. We're all here. There is no I'm here, you're here. And you check your ego at the door. If you start to demean anyone, pick at anyone, I'm going to ask you to leave, and you're not allowed back. It's that simple. I want it to be safe and secure. Anything that's talked about stays within that group confine.
That's amazing. I think the thing that I've been learning through talking to different therapists is the importance of men connecting with men, right? I think we forget about that. Like when men are struggling, I think women naturally want to try to fix things, and they want to try to force them to do something they don't want to do. And I've heard from therapists that the best thing a woman can do for their partner is encourage them to go and spend time with their friends, their guy friends, and bond with their friends, because that's their community. I love what you've created, because you've actually created an environment that's not just a topical thing, because I think a lot of times men are not in communities that are allowed to be that vulnerable. So I love what you've created, because it's like a given. I get to just be me in that space.
And that's the thing. The more people, you may not get 8 people every time. You might get 15 one time. You might get 3. And I made sure that I was there every week, even if I only got 1. And someone said to me, well, you're only going to get 1 person. It doesn't matter. That's 1 life that I helped save or touch in some way, manner, or form. Because you know what? If someone else needs help, I still need to be there regardless. I mean, I can't say, well, if the group's not 12 people, I'm not showing up. That's not what this is all about. This is all about helping you, no matter. So if the word of mouth gets around, hey, and that's what you hope for. Hey, you know what? You know, he may say, John might go to his buddy Tom and say, hey, you know what? Went to this really great group the other day. It was a really great bunch of guys, all kinds of, and we talked about things. And, you know, Tom might think, but John might say, hey, listen, why don't you just come try it out? And I tell people, you can come and sit in the back of the room. You can sit, you know, a couple tables over. If you just want to take in the moment and see what it's all about, see if it is for you, that's fine. We're not going to pressure you into, hey, who's the new person? You know, I don't want it to be that way.
Right.
I want it to be, you know, very relaxed. So after we did the first 2 or 3 meetings, I had received messages from some of the gentlemen's wives and or girlfriends. And they were like, wow, it's amazing, you know, what you did. And thank you for that. I said, listen, don't thank me. All I did was set up a meeting. Thank your husband or boyfriend or brother or father, because they had the courage to come out and say, I need support. I need help. And that's where we need to get men across the globe, not only in where I am or where you are, but yeah, it's a starting point. But we need to get more men to come out and say it's okay to talk to other men about deep, intimate feelings. I mean, prime example, okay? So if you were to go out with 3 of your girlfriends, okay, say you guys go out to dinner, you may have a couple drinks, you're sitting there, you're laughing, but what do you guys talk about? You guys talk about your families, children, your aspirations, where you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, your goals for your family. So very deep, intuitive feelings. Yeah. Now, flip that around. I go out with 3 of my buddies, hypothetically. We go somewhere, we have a couple drinks, we're talking about sports, we're talking about maybe hunting or fishing, maybe how cute the waitress's ass is. I mean, I'm just being honest. Well, I'm being honest. This is what we do, because no one wants to take that step out. So what you need to do, and I've done this with 3 of my friends, just as a example or an experiment, I guess. So we went out and we sat there and we talked. And as they're going on, Yankees this and Red Sox, I said, whoa, guys, listen, I'm having some problems, you know, whatever it was. I don't even know if I was really having a problem, but I wanted to see if I could start it and say, man, I'm really having problems. I think I used my job. I said, man, my job's really bringing me down, really getting bored with it. I don't know what to do. I don't know if there's a future here. So all of a sudden, everyone just sort of clams up at the table. And you could see them, they were actually taking in the moment. So as I got done with my conversation, then Mr. whatever, Jones over here said, oh, you know what? You don't mind if I talk about, you know, having a few problems with my wife? No, that's what I want you to talk about. You don't have to get into the, you know, the details, but yes, okay, hey, you're having problems at home. Hey, maybe Mr. C over here can help you with your issue and you can help him with it. So it started, and now all of a sudden you have 4 men talking about children and jobs and a relationship. Okay, that's the starting point. That's where we need to be right there. Yeah. It's very simple to start it. You need a starting point.
Jacque, what's your wife's name?
Katrina, like the hurricane. Thank God she's not here, because she would give me crap about that.
So Katrina was the one who helped you when you were in a dark moment, right?
Yes, she, the first suicide attempt, she had no warning. Now, the quick story behind that is we were only together for about 4 or 5 months dating. So I was in a bad spot. A lot of just personal things were going on, and I just decided that I wasn't even thinking about it. I just said, you know what? I'm just going to end it right now. Went out in the kitchen, grabbed a knife, went out on my balcony, on my deck, obviously. Sat down in the chair, stuck the point of the knife to my throat. I was literally going to slit my own throat. And all of a sudden, she just came barreling out of the house. Now, I'm in the moment, but when you're in that moment, you have tunnel vision. There is no peripherals. It is literally a black hole. So when she had come out, after she had brought me to, this is what she told me afterwards, she grabbed my arm with both hands. And instead of saying the world needs you, the world will be a better place, very generic things, she started mentioning my son's names. So I had to associate faces. So it almost drove that in. So she repeated it. You know, Nicholas needs you. These are my sons, obviously. Nicholas needs you. Tyler needs you. They need your father. You know, they need their father. It's me. It's Katrina. I need you. I love you. I want. So she was actually within 10 to 11, 12 minutes was able to talk me down. But it was very smart on her part, you know, never dealing with anything like that, to be able to do that. So the point I want to get to with this is when I did my podcast, my audience had asked if she would come on and tell her story, because when this had all transpired, we never talked about it. We swept it under the rug and we sort of just moved on with life.
Yeah.
So I went to her and I said, Kat, my audience wants to have you on, or, wants me to have you on and talk about your side of it, dealing with someone that attempted to take their own life, and you as the support system, would you be willing to do that? And she said yes. And I was like, okay. So we went on, and the guest, the host is actually a friend of both of ours. I've known us for about 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we started doing it. Tons of people. It was actually one of the highest rated podcasts I've ever had. But anyway, we're going through. And my friend Herb said, can I ask Katrina a question? And I looked at my wife and she said, sure. So he looked at her and he looked at me and he goes, why'd you stay? And very fair question, because we had never talked about this. So I don't know what this answer is going to be, because I've never heard this. So she took a moment and she looked at Herb, the host, and then she looked at me and she said, because I saw something in him and I knew I couldn't live without him. And that is the only podcast I ever cried on, because for me to know that someone loved me that deeply after that small amount of time, just something she saw in me. And I never thought anyone saw that in me, that I was worth any of that, was worth her love, her affection, her generosity, just her as a human being. And when she said that, I was speechless. And it was just like, my heart sank and everything just left me. I was like, wow, like it totally blew me away. And the audience, like nothing, like her, there was like silence. It was just like, wow.
Yeah.
So when I look back on it, it's truly, truly amazing that without my wife, there would be no 4S for Life, which is my foundation. There would not be any me. There would not be any of this. It's all possible because of her, and what said she saw something to believe in me, to make me believe in myself.
And I'm guessing you created the men's group because you didn't even have a men's group. You didn't have anyone to really talk to. She was it for you. So is that why you were like, I want there to be a men's group so men don't hit that darkness like you did?
Yeah, I mean, after I started seeing, once I started getting into really being able to know that my purpose was sharing my journey, and if it could help somebody, you don't want it to be like a look at me type of thing, but you want it to be, hey, no matter how down in the depths of hell you can be, you can rise up and come out of that. It does take a good support system. It takes a lot of work on your part, your support system, and you asking for help. And when I saw that, I mean, not only did we do the Conscious Men's Group, I have an anti-bullying campaign built in. We have a domestic violence support group. We want to hit it on every level. We want to help everybody. So it was important to me to say, we need to at least offer something that's free. And that's what all these groups are. They're free. You come out, there's no payment, there's no health insurance. It's free. All we're asking you to do is come out and say, I need help. Because so many people, I'm sure you've heard this too in your line of work, that, well, there's nothing out there. Well, no, not necessarily. How hard did you look? I mean, you can find something within your comfort zone, if you actually research it. But,
right.
So yeah, I think a part of it was knowing that I had to seek out that help.
Yes.
How could I help other men get the same help that I had?
Yeah.
Without having to go and ask 50 people, what their opinions were.
Because that's embarrassing, right? You almost serve up this community where it's okay to talk about it, but then you can connect them to resources. And have you thought about this? And have you thought about that? I mean, I think that that's the biggest problem is men. Like, if I ask you about mental health, that's like telling one on myself. I don't want anyone to know that. So it's like the stigma then overrides any kind of curiosity about getting support. Can we talk real quick about your message to the women that love the men? Because I think, like, honestly, I have my own friends believe that their partner is depressed right now because of COVID, because they're unemployed, because their financial situation is in the crapper. They don't know what to do. Their hands are tied. They're frustrated with their partner and they don't know how to help them. What would you say? I mean, thinking back on your experience.
Well, I think you brought up a good point because, these times that we live in now are totally different than anything that we've ever seen. I mean, you and I and probably most of your viewers in our lifetime. I mean, this COVID thing is just, is scary. But I think the biggest thing with men is that when they lose their job or maybe their hours got cut or whatever you were just, the things that you were just talking about, I think that emasculates a man. For us as men, and this doesn't go back to alpha male, this is the way we were taught was we need to protect and provide for our families. And if we don't feel that we're doing that, we feel like we're a lost cause. We're not doing enough. How can this woman love me? Or how can my life partner love me? I'm not doing anything right. So I think the biggest thing for any partner, whatever it is, man or woman, whatever relationship you may have, is to sit down with your partner and tell them that it's going to be okay. Ask them how they feel. Try to open up that dialogue and say, listen, we'll just use a hypothetical. Say it's you and I. Say we're a married couple, and I lost my job, and for you to come to me and say, hey, listen, I know things are really bad right now. You lost your job, but you know what? We're going to be okay. It's the more is the positive reinforcement that we give men. We need to not boost their egos, but make them feel like they're still doing things that are relevant to the relationship. That we still have some type of worth, because when we're down that low, we literally feel like we have nothing to offer our partner. So we're like, wow, I can't believe my kids, I'm not a good dad to my kid. And then all of a sudden the negativity starts flowing in. Oh, I'm not a good dad to my kids. I'm not a good husband. Now we start sinking deeper and deeper into that hole. So I think it's more the positive reinforcement and the reassurance that, hey, you know what? We're going to be okay. Even in your own mind, if financially maybe you won't be okay, but I've always believed that things will turn out in the end. It may not mean monetarily. I just mean in general. I think if we let things take its course, as hard as that seems to be, is to sit down and say, hey, let's count our blessings. Our kids are healthy. You and I are healthy. I still love you. You still love me. We still have our home. We still have the things that we need.
Yeah.
Now, how do we move forward as a team? And I think if we instill that in our men and our partners to say, team, bring more into that. Hey, this is a team. It's not, you don't have to do everything. We're in this society now that most of them are 2-income households. So it's like, hey, listen, I can take on a little bit more. I understand, that right now things are tough for you, but we're a team and we'll get through this together. I think we just need to keep reiterating that it's a team effort in a relationship.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, is that it's always got to be a team effort. That's what makes a relationship work.
Yeah, that's amazing. So and then, on the other hand, what kind of message, knowing where you've been, what kind of message do you have for a man out there who might be like, in the vortex of his mind, struggling with depression and, is so afraid to talk about it or get support? Like, what's your advice for them? Because you've been there, you've been at the bottom of the challenge,
Well, I think all of us as human beings, especially men, we do have people that we can confide in. So if you're in a relationship, I always say start with your partner. And the best thing for you to do is to sit down with your partner, whoever that may be, and say, listen, got a lot of things going on right now. I just want to talk, and I just need you to listen. And that's the best thing you can do as a partner. They don't always want feedback. Same thing with community, like psychologists and support groups. We don't always want a response. We just want to know that someone cares enough to listen.
Yeah.
And, take in the moment and what we're saying. And, if it's not your partner, maybe, like you and I discussed, I mean, maybe you don't have the right partner. I hope you do.
We did think about that. We said, make sure you have the right partner.
True. And most of us do have a close friend or two.
Yes.
And you just say, hey, listen, I really need to talk. Seek that out first before you have to go into a psychologist, psychiatrist, or support group. Start with the people that are closest to you, because I've always believed, and you know what, through the path that I've traveled, I've heard a lot of people, and I always say if I could go back, I would make amends to each and every person. I mean, not just physically, mentally, I've hurt a lot of people, and but your family will always be there for you. I mean, people say that, and there's a few that probably won't, but the majority of it, your family is your family, and no matter what you do, within the ramifications of maybe outside of maybe, and I don't want to get graphic, but molesting children or rape or something like that, but the average thing that you screw up, they're going to forgive you. And you know what? They may put you on a shorter leash, but they're always going to back you. No matter if you come to your family and you said, listen, I am at the end of my rope. You know what? I've been depressed. I'm having bad thoughts. I've been drinking more. I think your family, if you came out and admitted that to your partner and or your family and said, look, I need help. I genuinely need help. I don't know what I need, but I need help. I think taking that first step shows people a lot about your resiliency and your ability to show that vulnerability as a man. So don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid. Forget what society says. Society doesn't mean anything. You know what? The people that truly care about you, the people that truly love you, are not going to judge you in that capacity. I don't care. You know what? Uh, I've tried to teach my boys how to, you know, still show affection. I mean, my kids are bigger than I am now, and they're in their, in their 20s. And every time we see, I give them a kiss on the forehead, I give them a hug, and I always tell them, doesn't matter how big you are, you're still my little boy.
Hmm.
And now, and now my son has done that with his son. My grandson is
Yeah.
5, and
That's
I
nice.
see him, and I tell him, I'm like, Nicholas, you have become an amazing. I mean, to see him holding his son for the first time 5 years ago, and the way everything is family oriented. Go make sure you give Pop a kiss. Give Mimi, what he calls my wife Mimi. Give Mimi a kiss. He makes sure, he's got manners. He's brought, and it's so nice to see. And if it's the bottom line to everybody out there is positivity is always more difficult than negativity, because positivity requires work and effort. Negativity is easier to come by because that's all we're surrounded by right now. You watch the news, you read the paper, everything is negative.
Yes. Absolutely. You're so right. Listen, I have a friend who just went to the funeral of a friend of his, and he said he was blown away by the line of people going out the door. I think the gentleman had committed suicide, and I think the message there is that person did not know how surrounded by people, if he would have just reached out to one of them, to see them there at his funeral, and to know that any one of them probably would have picked up the phone if he called. It's a matter of reaching out. So your message is so important. Just find that one person that you can confide in and express yourself. Get it out of your head. When you get it out of your vortex in your mind, you make it 10 times worse. When you verbalize it, it sort of takes the charge away from it just by talking to someone.
Yeah, and you know what? That person you confide in might have issues similar or worse than yours, and you may help them in the same aspect, because again, I honestly believe that it always, no matter what it is, like what you do, what I do, it takes someone to just light the fire. Everyone's so afraid to take that first step, to be that one person. I don't want to say a pioneer, but just to be that lead person to say, hey, you know what? I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm going to step up and I'm going to try to do this. And you know what? Other people will follow, because that's what they want to see, someone out there, the average person, not LeBron James or Oprah Winfrey. We know that they're on platforms that are well above and beyond what we can do. But the average person, Michelle Dickinson, Jacque Ecuyer, somebody, the normal person, to say, wow, you know what? Whatever they were talking about, this one thing I took out of it really helped me. Good. Then we've done our job. That's what we set out to do, is to help people.
Yes. So exactly. And on that amazing note, you are relentless in wanting to help other men. And so that you're not going to stop at this Brotherhood group that you've created and all the volunteer work you're doing with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Let me ask you, what's next for you? Tell us about this big initiative you have in mind.
Well, my big idea, and unfortunately my mind never shuts off. So, which I guess is in a good way. It's a good way. It's a bad way. But no, what I want to do here, especially in upstate New York, is we do actually have a women's retreat center. And it's actually called Weawaka. It's Center for Women up on Lake George. And it's a great concept because it brings women together. They have groups and they have all kinds of things going on to, build relationships, build that foundation that you need as a group and as a community. So I started thinking, and I went, you know what? We don't have anything. I don't know what you have in New Jersey, but we have nothing like that. I've never even heard of a men's retreat. I mean, not here, not on the East Coast, that I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
So my goal, or what I want to do in the next, hopefully within the next 3 to 5 years, is to find people willing to, I have the idea, I have the concepts, I have all of the people on board that I would need to make it happen. But we need someone financially in a position to help me either attain a piece of property that we can, make this happen. Or if they have a piece of property, there's a lot of people that have property, summer homes and camps that they never even use. Yeah. And if you'd like to be able to do that, where, we could work it out, where we could make this truly happen, I think we could definitely pioneer something that could spread out across, the United States and even bigger, the world, and cut into that 510,000. And just think about this. If you started a men's retreat, which there was nothing holding you going, you have to sign a contract, or you can, almost like a drop-in center for kids. You just come when you want, you call ahead, hey, I want to come up and stay a night. Beautiful. We start offering meditation and breathwork classes, yoga classes. We don't need a gym. I don't want anything that's going to be alpha, infused. Yoga, breathwork, meditation, some classes where we do have speakers, but day hikes, kayaking, bike rides for men, all in a group setting just for men and men only. Think of how many lives we could change, how many lives we could save.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. I know people who like that area up there in Lake George. Just saying. No.
Hey, listen, it's
Yeah.
it's tough to ask for, and I don't want. I mean,
Yeah.
it is, but it's not. I mean, I think it's an idea that would. I don't want to say sell itself, but I think it's an idea. The concept is great. I just need to get in front of the right audience. So if there's anyone out there that does watch, that is in a position to help me, or knows people that are in a position, that I would love to get in front of a group of people, sort of like a Shark Tank, with entrepreneurs, and pitch this idea. And I would gladly, direct the entire operation. Again, I have tons of people that are psychotherapists and psychologists. I can get people on board. It wouldn't be anything to get people in position to teach classes and do that. But just the funding, if we can get someone out there that's willing to take a shot on this blue collar dad here that just wants to help people, I mean, I can make this vision happen, and that's my goal. So
that's amazing, Jacque. The work you're doing is so important. I love it. I love this vision, and I hope people do see this and want to support you, because, like you said, to have a retreat center, to have a man be able to say, "Hey, listen, I just need a break. I'm just going to go and spend the night in the woods and take care, and just sort of like clear my head so I can take care of myself, and then therefore take care of my family." What a gift that would be. I mean,
to be able for them to come back and be refreshed, like sort of like a day spa. Say for you to go, say if you go to a day spa, a woman comes back, you feel good, you're rejuvenated.
Yeah.
So if they were to come out, sit around a fire one night, have just shoot the shit with a bunch of other guys, take a day hike, or maybe do some kayaking, and just go, oh, this is great. I feel better. Now you go home to your wife, you go up, you give her a hug, say, hey, and she should, or hopefully would say, so, how did it go? It was really good. And I think I might try to do that again. Maybe the next time he stays the weekend.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think that woman, once the guy turns and walks away, she's going to go, yes, that man. I knew it was there. I knew he had it in him.
Yes. Amazing. Jacque, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time, being vulnerable, sharing your story, all the great work you're up to. It's you and I, people like us that really care, that want to make the difference in the world. And I'm so grateful that I met you. And I want to continue to support you and stay connected to you and follow all the great work you're up to. So thank you.
Well, the feeling's mutual. I love what you do, and I'm glad to have been a guest and honored to be on again, as I said. And anything, moving forward, any other topics that follow the mental health spectrum, feel free to reach out, even if it's on a multifaceted, like Daniel and I and the other gentlemen.
Yeah.
I'd love to be a part of anything that you want me to be a part of. I can speak on just about anything within the mental health, the gamut. So if anybody, this will be your next question. If anybody wants to reach out to me.
How do they reach you?
Obviously, I'm all over social media. Jacque Ecuyer, my name is on there. You can write my personal page. My organization is called 4, the number 4, S as in Stephen, the number 4, and then the word life. So 4S for life.
Nice.
Website, social media, you can message me there on any of these topics, anything. If you do want to help me get that men's retreat center, you can message me on that as well. But yeah, thank you for having me. I love what you do. I respect what you do. I think you do a great job. So keep up the good work.
Thanks, Jacque. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. It was
you too.
to have you. Thank
you.
Bye.